this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I use my Cottage Press woodblock brushes to turn a simple strawberry drawing into a set of layered Procreate stamps. We'll build up the different printed textures, make sure everything registers correctly, and turn those layers into stamps ready to use in your designs. So if you'd like to follow along, let's start by setting up the canvas. Just so that you know, if you wanted to follow along, I'm using in the canvas information, I'll show you the dimensions, 5 by 5 inches at 300. So this is the size I'm going to be making the stamp. Obviously that size can change to whatever you like, but the stamps for me, they don't really need to be much bigger than that for the style of design that I create. So the first thing we need to do is centralise the drawing on the canvas. We need to do this so that we make sure that everything we draw is aligned with everything. So when we come to stamp, we've got that nice system where everything aligns perfectly. So to do this, just make sure your snap-ins are on and then just wiggle until you get them to orange crosshairs, sort of crossing like that, so we know that's now central. So that's our baseline drawing, base motif. So what I will do is create another layer just above, and then I'll go and make sure that I'm using black. So it's important when you're making stamps that you use a black drawing implement, make sure it's on black, and then the white needs to be white, so you can tell that by the hex decimals. So 6 F's for white, and then as you can see it changes to 6 noughts for black, so that we know we're working black and white. So there's various sections here that I'm going to create the stamps for, but the first one is the block, the whole of it. So what I'm going to do to make it a bit easier for myself, I'll just take that down a little bit. And then the first of the stamps from the Cottage Press woodblock is I'm using the painted block number 1. And what I do is I'll just randomly stamp over the top and then maybe twist and turn a little bit so there's some randomness to the stamping. And there's also randomness to the sort of the thickness and thinness of everything, as you can see there. So what I'll do then is I will take the opacity down. This is so that I can see the shape underneath. And then what I will do is I'll go into the Cottage Press and I'm going to use the number 5 Carve Chisel. And that works a little bit like a wood carving chisel, so we'll be either pushing or pulling. We won't be sort of drawing like that. We sort of using in motions of using the tool, which helps give you that authenticity. So basically I just go around the shape, and what I'm doing is I'm just keeping it a little bit bigger than the actual drawing, because you'll see later on it's quite nice when we use this shape can be used as an eraser, so it can be used as an eraser or a stamp, so you can maybe stamp a colour or stamp out a colour or make something a little bit less strong, you know what I mean? You can use it for so many different things. So I'm just going to go around this, so I'll probably speed this up a little bit. As you can see, I'm just going around the edge. I'm not being overly fussy about the detail, because this technique is all about slight misregistration, a little bit like if you were on the tabletop with your printing blocks and you're inking up, things aren't perfect when you're doing anything by hand. The perfection isn't there, and because we want to sort of get that effect digitally because we like that aesthetic, this is the way we can achieve it. And this is one of the ways that I use to try and get that nice feeling. And then when I use it on my textile designs, they've got a lovely sort of cottage appeal. It's really quite nice. So I'm just going to continue going around. So there we go. I'm going to make that more, take that off. So we've got that nice little shape, and you can see tonally there's lots of variations, lots of marks going this way and that, just like you would with a roller, probably on a piece of wood. And you can see all that lovely sort of more, this is more of a wet print. Sort of if you're using like emulsion paints or something, you could kind of get this effect. So that's what this effect is. It's more of a smooshy feel. Right, okay, we're going on to the next stage. So this is going to be a stamp. So we're just going to leave that now. That's all done. We turn that off, and then we'll add another layer. And what I'm going to do now is keeping the drawing underneath so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take another one of my brushes out of the Cottage Press set, and I'm just going to go around the whole of the strawberry and create another stamped layer. I'm going to use number 10, the worn edge. I'll just demonstrate here how this works. So I'll just make it bigger so you can see. As you can see, it's got like a bit of a worn edge, it's got a bit of a shadow to it, and you can see all that lovely texture inside. And it works if you press down hard, you get a thicker line, and if you sort of ease off, you'll go to sort of dry brushing. So if you go really light, you get this really light effect. And also if you go back over the top, you'll get this double drawing over the top as well, which can be useful, but I'm showing you this because that's not what we want. What we want is, I'll just take that away, a nice shape, smooth shape. So as you can see, I'm not taking the brush off at all. You kind of have to get into a position where you don't take the brush off at all. So can you see that lovely flat pressed feeling that you can get there? So this is what sort of gives our strawberry shape its form. Okay, so I'll show you now, when you're on your actual design, you don't need to take your brush off, try and keep it on. So obviously you can't, so if I was to do this and then go like that, can you see how you're creating that sort of overlap? That's not what we want. So we need to get the strawberry as much as we can see, and then go in with the pen and then just draw around. So it takes a little bit of concentration. We can clean some areas up afterwards around the edges, but just keep your pen down. We can go tidy some of that, go and tidy some of that up. So if you hold your pen down and don't move, can you see how you get that ziggy zaggy thing, which can be a bit annoying? So if that happens, 2 fingers. And because I don't want to start again, can you see that error? Not right, is it? So off it goes. So I just need to concentrate and not talk too much. So here we go. I'm just going to go round, just going to go quite loose around here, around the shape. I'm not overly worried about being precise, as long as I keep within that shape. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go all the way around, all the way around, and then just finish off all of the centre bits. It's always a good idea to go in the direction of the fruit piece, because if you did happen to stop, sometimes if you sort of leave a white mark or something, it can suggest the direction of the form, if you know what I mean. So you can kind of see the shape of the strawberry through the sort of highlights that you leave. But for this, I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to carry on going over everything. So I've got a nice flat sort of printed area that I'm going to work with. Okay, so as you can see, that's all quite nicely done, and I haven't taken my pen off, and it's not going over and double drawing, and because my pen is moving, it hasn't decided to do a straight line. So now I'm happy, I can release, and I've now got that lovely shape. Now up here there might be some issues, but what I will do is we'll tidy that up once we've interlocked the other shapes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn down the opacity on the strawberry, and then I'm going to do the leaves. So I'll make another layer, and then I'm just going to zoom in. Now, because I've got sections, my hand can have a bit of a break, so I'll show you what I mean. I might need to just make this brush a little bit smaller. So it has got a shadow to it, and that's because it's got that worn edge. So that'll be very faint when it prints, but it will also give a lovely sort of overprint effect as well. And then I'll let go, and then I'll go back into this side, and I might leave a bit of a gap where that line is. I'm happy with that. Again, this technique is just so not designed to be perfect. We can tidy things up, yes, but it's not designed to be perfect. So I'll just keep turning round and building those leaf shapes up. And you haven't got that little bit of stress sometimes if I've got to leave my hand on the canvas, I can't move, but it's worth it. It is worth it, this technique. Oops, it's jumped over to an eraser. Yeah, so it is worth persevering and just getting used to it, because this technique does give you some really lovely, when we start working in colour, you'll be able to see that lovely randomness that you can create, and it's really, really nice, especially with the digital media that we tend to be very clean and precise and everything's got to be correct. Well, I just think this is just another drawing tool. Just forget in your head that it's digital. It's just another way to move your hand with a creative tool in your hand, and to move and manipulate. That's all you're doing. We're not doing anything different. This could quite easily be an ink pen, couldn't it, or a stick. We're just trying to find ways to recreate things in another way, which I think can be quite a nice little challenge, and that's what I really like. I love the results though. I love the results. So anyway, here we go. So if I take off the drawing and then bring the strawberry back up, as you can see, can you see that lovely bit of overlap that's happening, and a little bit of a white line? All of a sudden, from that quite basic drawing, we've got these really lovely effects happening. Okay, so what I shall do now is I'll go and draw the other bit. So this is like a shadow. Now you could, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw one bit of it. I'm not going to do it all. But you could make as many layers as you like, because each of these layers is going to be a stamp, and it's going to be in that stamp in each layer, and they're going to interlock as you stamp down. So that's the idea of this. So you can be as complex as you like. So just to keep it neat, I'm going to add a layer just above the full strawberry layer there. And even as I'm thinking now, I'm not sure. I'm still going to use the worn edge, number 10. but I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep inside this bit or go and get these little highlights. And I'm thinking I might actually go and get those highlights. I quite like those. Yeah, so what I'm going to do then is, again, because we're doing one block piece, we want to keep our pen moving and don't take your pen off. So I'm just going to draw around again, so you're kind of getting the idea of this. There's lots of other brushes that work in the same way. They've all got some kind of suction edge or texture to them. So there's a lot of experimentation you can do here and lots of different combinations with these brushes. So you don't necessarily have to leave, follow what I'm doing. You can absolutely play around and try different things. And I think that's what the beauty of this is. Okay, and then there's a little bit there and a little bit there. Again, I might have to come and tidy a bit up in a minute, but generally speaking, I'm okay with that. So here we go around this bit. So this is just like a nice shiny strawberry. There we go. Keeping the pen down and lift. Then we've got this little shape here. So if you've ever done any sort of analogue printing, as they call it, you'll understand layering and interlocking shapes and how you build. It's the same principle, and I think when you use those same principles digitally, you get a much nicer result than if you try to do shortcuts. So this essentially isn't really a shortcut. The only sort of shortcut you could call it is it's a bit less messy, if you like, or equipment heavy, because I haven't got all that printing equipment. I haven't got space for it. I don't necessarily want to print loads of things out and then not know what to do with everything, because a lot of things is like trial and error, isn't it? And in that trial and error there's a lot of waste, and I'm not keen on having like lots of waste everywhere. Just take that notification off, I don't know what that is. Anyway, there we go. Right, so as you can see, if I take the drawing off, we've now got like, it looks like a little world, doesn't it? When I was creating this, I thought it looks like a globe. Anyway, I'm going to put the strawberry back on and the leaf. And can you see how that nice tonal shift's happening in there? So to make it more like a strawberry, I think the magic bit is when you add the little seeds. So again, I'm just going to take that down so I can see better. And then I'm going to go into the eraser. I'm going to get the Carve Chisel number 5. And then I'm just going to quite nice and cleanly erase the seeds. So I'm keeping sort of loosely, I'll just make that a bit bigger so you can see, loosely staying within the lines. Again, the drawing is quite sketchy and simple, and I think that's the beauty of this. It's that, not being too controlled. There's a time and a place for all sorts of drawing, and I think this one suits the less detailed drawing style, might suit people. You could absolutely try something a little bit more detailed if you want, because this is not about me telling you what to do or how to think or how to use these tools. I'm just showing you the system that I've developed to create this nice textural, smooshy, squishy block printing effect that could be quite interesting in your work. So now if we put can you see you've got lovely little bits of quite natural tonal things happening there, which is quite exciting. So now what we want to do, because of the edge here, we want to look at the suction bit, and there is in this set tools that give suction feel. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to turn these off, and just create a layer up here. Oops. Pop that layer, oh, we don't want to move. Pop that layer up there, and then just use these suction lift bits, brushes, just to show you before I use them. I'll just make it a bit bigger so you can see. So this one, as you can see, it's got a lovely lift feel. Can you see that? And you can go back in and you can maybe create some lovely little ideas of how you want to work. But I've created these so that they go around the edge, this sort of edge, a shape to give, can you see that nice suctiony feel and that squishy, painty feel? And on their own they could be quite interesting, but when you use them to sort of show that edge of when a print block goes down and comes back up, there's kind of a suction and it leaves like a little bit of a wet edge where the paint has oozed out, and that's what this is about here. These brushes do that. So I'll just do another one here so you can kind of see. I think this is my set, so ignore that one. Suction Lift 2 was much nicer. So, oops, let's jumped over to. So you've got, like, again, it's very similar, but maybe the texture inside is just a little bit different. And again, they're designed to stay down, and you can sort of ease off and press down, ease off and press down. And whilst you've got your pen on the screen, it will pick up and squish through the lines and take the ink with it. But as you can see, as I come over onto these others, it's just going to go over the top. Again, that's where you could maybe create some really interesting effects of your own. But the idea for me was to create these wood blocks and this system of how I was going to use it. This is quite a nice one. It's got texture in there and a bit of a squishy edge, and you never really know what's going to happen because it's all randomized, so it's difficult to control, but that is the nature of this, isn't it? We don't want to control it. So that's those. So I'm just going to delete that. So what we're going to do is, under these shapes, create another layer, put it underneath, turn your main sort of fruity shape on there, the strawberry, and I'm going to use the suction lift there. And what I'm going to do is just make that a little bit more see-through so you can see what's happening. And then I'm going to go, oops, I'm just going to go around the shape. Again, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep going around. This is again another don't lift your pen off moment, or don't stop for too long, else you'll end up with a straight line, which can be frustrating when you've gone all the way around, then all of a sudden it goes straight. So as you can see, I'm carrying on here. I don't mind some of those areas. I might take it away a bit where the white seed is, because I want that nice clean area for the strawberry bit. But if you want to leave it, you can. This is just a decision I'm making. And again, I'm going in the direction of how the strawberry would be, so you can see those nice directional lines there appearing, which again, that texture underneath is really quite nice. And you could leave a little open bits if you like. It's up to you, make these decisions and test ideas, and just play really till you get something that you're happy with. Okay, so now I've got that, and that is going to sit underneath, oops, this. Now at the moment it's very subtle. If I turn it on and off, you can see what's happening. It is introducing a little bit more sort of texture under there as well. And then when we come to use the stamps as stamps, it's really a really lovely effect. And then I'm going to go on to the next shape, which is the little map of the world shape. And you can see how this suction edge is quite nice, isn't it, on there? But I'm going to give it its own suction edge. And again, when we come to use these stamps, we don't have to use all of the stamps we've created. We can just use them as we see fit, and as, you know, make these creative decisions when we're creating the designs of what we want to, how we want to use them. We'll have to tidy some of these edges up shortly. I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, again, keep your pen down, keep your sort of thought of the direction of the fruit shape. Some of the edges flood out, and then just go over like that. Okay, and then when we turn the fruit back on and the other layers, you can kind of see that nice textural thing happening there. I'm going to turn these off. I'm going to leave the suction areas on when I go and do the leaf. So I'm going to pop the leaf on and put a layer underneath. So I'm working underneath the leaf now. I'll just make that leaf a little bit fainter so I can see what I'm doing. Can you see how some of this overlap and some of this area is not looking great, but we can tidy that up. So, whoops, if we go onto the leaf area, I'm not going to follow the little leaf veins, but you can if you want to. I'm just going to create one big shape. But again, like I say, there's decisions you can make and choices you can make here as well as you're going along. So I'm just going to go along the edge. So again, I'm not lifting my pen, and I'm just going with the sort of the shape of the leaf. And then let go. And then I'm just going to make sure that's back up. Turn that off. So now we've got, this is the suction bit. This is the bit that creates that extra sort of suction lift, I like to call it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get an eraser. There's various, all of these pens will work as an eraser. So there's different ones you can use. I could use the Carve Chisel, which is fine. You can use that if you want to be a bit more exact. So what I might do is just turn on this one. Because the leaf's going to be over the top, it makes sense for me to take off anything underneath it. So there's some edges here. It's not that I dislike them, they're just a bit clumsy, aren't they? So I'm just going to just use the chisel-y and just sort of take some of it off. And as you're taking it off, as you can see, you're not erasing too much. Can you see if I go over there, it's taking too much off. So if I just erase like this here, it's just giving a little bit, you know, it's giving it more of a defined edge. And then I'll do the same, oopsie daisy, same here. Don't want anything too thick, there we go. And then these are looking very strange, aren't they? So I'm just going to take these off. I might take those off a little bit more, so a little bit less. don't mind blobby, but I don't want super weird blobby. So there we go. As you can see, that sort of interlocks a little bit better. So we could get the next one, and then we can see that that is, can you see when you turn it on and off, you can kind of see where things are interfering. So again, I'm using that top layer of the leaves to go in and just shave off some of this area that's a bit too distracting and a bit too not sort of working as well as I'd like. So I'm just going to take that off. Sometimes you can't really tell what's happening, but if you turn the layers on and off, you can sort of see. And I can see that bit there. I'm not keen on that bit there, so I'm just going to have a look at that one there. So click back on and then just take it off a little bit. I'm not sure how these will work because it's got that little off print. It might be okay, so I might just leave that and just test it. And then when you make your brushes and you do your first test overlay, you can tell where you might want to readdress some of these things. That is pretty much it, really. I'll be ready now to make the stamps from the brushes. So I'm not going to go through all the stamp settings here. I'll perhaps make another video. If you think you might want a bit more depth on making the stamps, I've got another video, but if you want me to make one that's more settings orientated, then just leave a comment so that I know that's what you want. Okay, so now I'm going to make the stamps. So we've got one stamp, which is your base stamp. Let's turn them off so we can see. So if we go, up here, you've got your leaf. You've got your suction bit on the leaf, so that's 2. And then you've got your little shadows and highlights, and then the suction. And then you've got the actual strawberry fruit, and then the suction area. And then you've got this base shape, which at the moment looks very thick and heavy, but you can use it in lots of different ways, and it really makes a massive difference when you come to use them. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 shapes. So we need to make 7 stamps. Okay, so on the suction lift area underneath the fruit shape, we've got little seeds, haven't we? We've got little seeds, and we might want to make those a little bit more prominent in the suction area. So again, go and get the suction lift and then maybe make it a little bit smaller, and then we can keep your pen down and just go over the top. Can you see? Just go round and just go just slightly away from the shape. So this is just giving that extra squishy suction lift. It's the only way I can call it. I don't know if there's a technical term for it. I really don't. If anybody knows, it'd be good to know what the term is. Yeah, there we go. So that's that. Right, so that makes more sense. So that's just an addition. I had actually forgotten that bit, but it is crucial. Can you see? You see how much better that looks now? You've got a bit more definition, there's a bit more detail. So that now lives in the suction lift of the fruit. So we are now actually ready to make the stamps. Okay, so I'm going to start with the base shape to make a stamp. And as you'll see, I've already had a little play with this, but I'll show you what I actually do. So I will go and make a new brush set. Sorry, a new set. Strawberry. Stamps 2. Okay, and then what I'll do is, because I knew these stamps work really well, I'm just going to take one of them, duplicate it, and then take it up and pop it in here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, because this is what I want to use, 3 fingers down, copy all, go into that new base layer, because that could be from somewhere else. Shape source, edit, import, paste, and my new shape has jumped in there. So there we go, that's the new one. And then I'll duplicate that, then go on to my next shape, which is the suction. Whoops. 3 fingers down, copy all, tap, edit, import, paste, tick, done, tick, done. That's it. And then again, duplicate, oops, too quick, and then go back here, fruit. Okay, make sure I can see there that that needs to be maximum. All of these need to maximum. If you take the opacity down, you'll be stamping with an opaque brush, a low, sort of a more translucent brush, so you want the opacity right up. So 3 fingers down, copy all, strawberry base, edit, import, paste. Done. And then duplicate, off, stamp, copy all. Can you see how quick this is? Once you've got your settings to how you like them, you just really quickly make these stamps. And the beauty of these is they all interlock with one another. So it's like creating 3 or 4 pieces of lino or wood blocks that actually fit together, which is really nice. Copy all, edit, import, paste, tick, tick, duplicate, oops, copy all, edit, import, paste, tick, tick, duplicate, always make sure it's just one layer, because if you copy all, it will copy everything. You might want that, and that might be quite an interesting stamp. So nothing is wrong unless it's not what you meant to do. Okay, so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I've got this lovely little stamp set now that we can use. And then for this, what I'm going to do is put these all in a little folder out of the way, group, and then it's small, it's collapsed. I'm going to create 2 layers, and then I'm going to go into my Patternology Heritage Colours based on William Morris style interiors. So the top layer is going to be that nice apple blossom, and then underneath I'm going to put ivory linen. Underneath is the ivory linen. I'm going to turn on the drawing guide, edit the drawing guide. I'm going to make the grid a bit bigger so we can something around 374 pixels just for this. We're just testing the motif here. So then I'm going to go into the strawberry stamps 2 that we've just made, and I'm going to erase the base onto the new pink layer. I might set it to 20, see how we go from there. There we go, nice. So I'm using 20%, so all of my stamp shapes need to be 20. So that's 20. If I go to this one, it's 20. This one, 20. It's very convenient, isn't it? So I'm going to stamp the strawberry base first, the actual base. I'm going to pick another colour. I might use the blush rose or cottage red, whatever you like, and then stamp it in the centre, and it aligns. Now I don't think the colour changed. Blush rose, there we go, stamp in, there we go. So we've got the nice little strawberry, and you can see how the edge is a little bit bigger, a little bit off centre. And then I'm going to go and get the base shapes. So this is the little shapes that we use. I'm going to keep it the same colour. I'm going to keep it the same colour because it will just overlay nicely. So can you see that? That was lovely, isn't it? Well, I think so anyway. I just love how these interact with one another. And then what I'm going to do is get the leaf. I'm going to make it the olive grove colour. And again, you might be tempted to tap there, but that's not how it works. We tap centrally and it fits there. Okay. And it seems to have picked up some of the underneath. If you think about the eraser that we made, it sort of left some of that pink behind, which is now showing through the green, which I think is quite nice because it's got that tonal, everything's working together. We've just used ivory linen, the pink, light pink, the apple blossom, and the blush rose, and the olive grove, and you've got those nice tones, haven't you? And then the nice thing is to go over with your suction brush. Again, you can use the same colour, or you could use a darker depending on what you want to do. And again, make sure it's 20% so we know everything fits, and tap down, and you can see that it's just brought some of that detail to life. And if you can see around the edge there, it's got that suction lift feel, which is what I was talking about when we were creating it. You can also go and use the strawberry base for the little shapes if you want to add more detail. So just make sure it's 20% and just test it. There you go, that's added a little bit more scruffiness there, a bit more scruffiness around the leaf. It's sort of added a little bit of an undertone there, which suggests a little bit of shade, which is quite nice. And then we want the suction bit for the leaf, don't we? So I'll go back and get the olive grove, keep the colours together, and then tap the centre. There we go. And then we've got our nice little sort of strawberry. And that's it. We've taken a simple strawberry drawing and turned it into a set of layered Cottage Press stamps. I hope this has given you some ideas for using the brushes in your own designs. Find a link to the brushes in the description below. If you'd like a separate tutorial on how I make my Procreate stamp brushes and want to know a little bit more of the technical side, let me know in the comments. And finally, thank you for watching.